Good afternoon, folks. We are live once again. A little early. Let me get everything switched over and we will jump into what will hopefully be a decently productive drawing stream. All right. We should have audio and video. We are doing the standard BGM playlist today for background noise. I'll leave the volume there for now. We can tweak it if necessary. All right. So for today's stream, we are going to be continuing the concept of a symmetrical design, and what I have on screen here to kind of intro what I want to do. This is the results of the last session when we were doing character costumes using a symmetrical 2D plane to mirror things in certain cases. I have not had time to go back and finish the last two in the set. That is something that I'm going to do offline at some point. It shouldn't take me too long. And then we'll consider the first overall set of 11 total races, male and female, to each, done. But today, just to break things up and switch up the formula a little bit, what I want to do is take this idea and zoom in a bit and brainstorm some ideas for character faces, which is something we've done in the past, but I didn't do it using like a head-on symmetry plane. I think a few times we did head-on views, I just sort of eyeballed it so things weren't symmetrical. So what I've done is I've taken this file and just made a copy of it for a new one. And we're going to use this primary as the template for faces, and we're going to run through the same exercise but with actual character specific faces. And I thought a little bit about what made the most sense on how to do this, and I think the easiest way would be to start with the features that I know I'm going to need to mirror that, and then do the features that I know I'm not going to need to mirror, mainly the hair. So if we were to start, make sure I'm on a new layer. And we're going to go sketch mode for this too. I think everything up to this point is good to mirror, and maybe I'll play around with expressions. That's not necessarily the point of the exercise here. It's mostly the character facial features and the hair specifically that I want to mess around with. So if I feel like it, I could always duplicate the faces, like the facial structure or shape, and then do things like just change the eyes. And then once I mirror it, I can add in the mouth. Well, before I do that, I could draw in the rest of the eye. Especially if I want to mess around with expressions. Yeah, we'll number these so I can keep them organized as well. Hey, Red Dragon's here. What's happening, Red Dragon? Good to see you again. Hope you are having a decent Friday? Look at the time. I guess it's late evening for you. But welcome to the drawing stream. We're gonna be working on faces today. Alright, so for the first one, we'll do a male character first. This fella's got a bit of a surly expression just from the eyebrows. But now, what I think is kind of the more fun part of doing an exercise like this is experimenting around with some of the more specific details like the hair. Kind of going for a more short look from it's the way things are laid out here. But how short? I'm not going to worry too much about having the details of the hair itself be symmetrical, since actual hair is not symmetrical at all. I think I mostly care about making sure things like the facial expressions, eyes, are symmetrical enough that they're not skewed to one side, which is why we're using the mirror plane here. And the eyes, for some of these, are going to determine which race we're drawing a character from. Some of the other physical features on the face, like some of the markings or the one race that has the lines, the unique lines on different parts of the face. That would also determine which race we're doing as well, but eyes are going to probably be the one major physical feature that's most distinct. And I'm trying to think of the best way to sort of assign features. We're not doing something as structured as the outfits, where we need to do 2 faces from a specific race and move on. I'll probably just throw in specific details as we go. It doesn't need to be organized like the other one. That's not the main point. The main point is just experimenting around with other features like hair and expression and the face itself. This one might be actually okay as one of the ones that doesn't have unique eyes. So if we do that, since we're just doing this with shading and no color, we'll do just a little bit of sort of semi-hatching to show color, and that'll be good. Seems like the neck might be a little bit long, and that's probably coming from. We could fix that. I was thinking it was coming from the primary, but I don't think it is. We just gave this fella an extra long neck. That's easy enough to fix. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing as before and do sort of like a counterpart and try not to duplicate the same physical features and things like the hair. So this is going to be a bit more, I think, of a kind of shotgun exercise of doing a lot of designs and just trying not to repeat the same ideas as we go and work on these faces. And we'll alternate between male and female models here just to follow some of the same formulas before. Okay, so this one's going to be 2. And we'll see how many we can do in the session today. Let's try and round out the face a little bit more. Soften the angle a little bit. You can also do things like play around with the placement of things like the eyes to sort of change up the perceived kind of age of the character as well. If we wanted to go kind of younger looking, we would drop the eyes down maybe a bit more. If we wanted to go older, we'd make them a little bit smaller. But we can just use our free transform to mess around with placement too, which is handy. One of the main advantages of digital tools as a pencil and paper artist by trade, not being able to just undo or do stuff like that is a bit more of a challenge. Okay. We could duplicate that. Mirror it. I suppose I don't know how to use the symmetry tool in Clip Studio. I could do that as well, but it's just a couple extra steps to mirror stuff, and I just realized I need to do the neck too. But I should probably look into that at some point as well. Okay, we'll just mirror that section. I need to sort of train my brain to do the entirety of all the physical features and start to mirror it all at once. There we go. Kind of a shorter nose for this one. Thinking about facial marks, we could do all right, we'll do the race that has the heterochromia. We'll give her some ear accessories too. And because it's another feature we see with this particular race, we'll do kind of like two-tone hair as well. And I'll just kind of have to hatch it to show that it's a different color. It's kind of like having a bunch of like the upper locks towards the face being another color. Kind of tough to show without actually having color fill, but if I hatch it a bit, it should be clear. Actually, it's a little bit tough to even see. I don't think I like the way that looks in sketch form. I'm going to clean it out. Because we're not doing color assignment as part of this kind of concept brainstorming, then we'll just make a note that this part of the hair would be a different color if we were actually filling it. That way it just doesn't obscure all the detail and make it look really messy. In my mind, the part that's colored would just be this part right here, which is kind of like the top of the head and the front, but it wouldn't necessarily go all the way down in the back. So this part here that goes behind, falling down the neck, would be a regular color. Okay, now for the eyes. This particular race does have slightly more narrow pupils. They're not slit pupils like Serpentine. That is different race, but these ones are a little bit more narrow compared to the completely round ones we saw on the first model. And I just realized I might have put myself in a bit of a box, but I mentioned heterochromia. This particular race sometimes has eyes with dark sclera, but that's a little bit tough to show because I'm sketching and I'm not doing things in color. So that's not the cleanest way to do this, but I'll have to do it that way. I could change my shade, but that's not really that important. There, that'll be my color reminder if I ever use this one for anything. Okay. There's a bit more of a contrast. Moving on. Maybe go more of kind of a sharper, more angular eye shape for this one. But trying to go for not quite as grumpy of a look as the first male model. Went for slightly sharper jawline on the face. Not too sharp, not like Giga Chad jawline. A little bit sharper than the first one. Okay, we'll flip that. Oh, I forgot to put you on a new layer, didn't I? Reset the clock. This one can flip. Go for a little bit of a smirk. Now, hair-wise, we've got two kind of what I consider medium-length hair. Maybe we go shorter for this one. A little bit spiky. More of a overall just general short on top. And ending a little bit below the ears. I'm going to go with the symmetrical marks. This is one of the snake people. All right, that one actually came together faster than the other ones. All right, make sure I'll save in between these two. Just so I don't go an hour and lose all my work. Alright, this is what we had on the wrong layer. I'm going to delete that out. Make sure we start on a new one. Call this 4. Alright, I think I got an idea for this one. More of a tapered heart-shaped face for this one. So for this one, I'm going to go for a little bit more of kind of a mature face. Going for kind of narrow eyes. The reason why I didn't mirror the eyes first is because the left side is going to be obscured by the hair, which is one of my favorite styles to kind of experiment with. And I try not to do it a lot in character design because I think it's interesting to mess around with. But thinking about how I want to actually have the hair look, we're going to go like this for the kind of main shape, and then I'll play around with it a little bit. And for the expression, we go more neutral for this one. Not happy with how the line looks. That's a little better. I'll have to move the placement around a little. I think I ended up with a bit more of a frown than a neutral expression, but that's okay. Ooh. I don't know if that's picking up on my mic, but it is raining something fierce outside right now. It has been mostly summery-ish weather where I live last week or so. And then today's, apparently it's going to be dumping rain. Okay. This is the general shape that I want for the hair sort of hiding one of the eyes. Now, let's see. Do I want to add any specific traits to this one? We could go for the race that doesn't have pupils. That's the insect-like race. So that means you have to add lines on the face as well. Which we can do. These are usually symmetrical. So even though we can't see the other half of the face, we need to make sure we include the line patterns for the parts we can see. All right. That's 4 in almost 45 minutes. Not a bad pace. Let's keep going. Now for this one, let's go for more kind of rounded eyes. Go for a little bit thicker, bushier eyebrows. Go a little bit shorter bridge on the nose. I realized doing these particular exercises that I don't have a ton of variation in how I draw noses. I think if we were playing around at different angles on the face, specifically like a side profile, I could experiment more with kind of like the shape and bridge so that not everyone just has the same generic anime face and nose. You could do things like change the kind of the sloping size or the angle, all of the different settings that you can play with in a character creator. But for a head-on shot, I guess it's not super important since we're focusing on things like the hair and the rest of the attributes on the face. I don't know what you call that expression, but it's more of a we call it disapproval. I'll go 2 of them. Long forelocks, like a middle part. Which is not going to be symmetrical, but that's okay. Hey, Bits is here. What's up, Bits? How are you doing on this Friday? Welcome to the drawing stream, where occasionally we get stuff done. How you doing? I'm gonna go for kind of shorter hair in the back. It'd be a bit harder to see here, but kind of like a reverse mullet. Longer in the front, shorter in the back. It says I'm doing good. Good. I'm glad to hear. I know everybody's been busy lately, but hopefully things are going well up there in Canada Land. Nah, I'm gonna go shorter than that. So in case you just jumped on and didn't hear me explain what I'm doing earlier, bits to give a bit of a recap for you or anyone else who's popped by, we're doing character face brainstorming today. And so using a base primary for like a front-facing view symmetrically, that's why you have the line here. The point of the study today is to try and see if we can brainstorm as many ideas for character faces, hairstyles, etc. as possible. And that's the 5th one we've done so far. And it definitely seems like we're on pace to get a decent amount of these done in our time today. But the idea of doing things symmetrically for something like this has been an interesting experiment. We did it with outfits, and now we're doing it with faces. All right, let's go ahead and make sure there's nothing else we want to add. Homeboy's eyes are a little bit further apart than the others, which does make the overall facial features look different. I just like his expression. I make that expression a lot. It says very excited for next Sunday. Oh yeah, for sure. If you want bits, I can talk a little bit about it since my community doesn't know what we were discussing and locking in as of yesterday. So I can mention it here if that's okay with you, and I'll put a post in our Discord, probably when I do next week's schedule, so I can make sure I have that day blocked off and I don't forget. But yeah, I'll talk a little bit about it if you're cool with that. I won't explain what we're doing, but I'll mention that we got something. I'll probably mention it during the week as well, since we have people coming through at different times, in addition to putting an announcement on the Discord. But yeah, I had mentioned that we were going to be doing a collab on Bits' stream, and we have a date locked in for that, which will be a week from this Sunday. That should be 20-something. Let's see, 9th? Is that what he said? Yes, I need to make sure. The 29th of June, so a week from this Sunday. And it'll be in the afternoon, 3 o'clock Pacific. I'm just looking at our Discord chat to make sure I'm not misquoting. 3 o'clock Pacific for Mountain. I will be joining Bits on his stream, and we'll be debuting the super secret project that I haven't given any specifics on, but I've mentioned it a few times. And we'll finally be showing it off. So like I said, I'll put a note in the schedule, and I'll mention it in the Discord, so that folks from my community will know to come over to Bits' stream and check the project out, and we'll talk about it a bit. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's been cooking for a while. It should be a fun time. It says I'm very excited. Let me tell you, he cooked. It did take a long time for me to finish that project, but it was definitely one of the most fun ones that I've attempted in a while. All right, face number 5. And also, what we're doing here, it might not be super apparent, and that's fine too. But I'm trying to alternate between male and female models here just to switch back and forth. But really, it's a couple tweaks away from a lot of the facial features to change like a character gender if I was going to use the design for something. I'm just alternating just to not get stuck drawing one set of physical features. All right, let's go ahead and save. It says, all right, Rock will be looking so I can finish my OW2 drives. Overwatch 2, I'm assuming. All right. Well, good luck. Catch them dubs. We'll continue working here and we'll try and be productive. So, yeah, go get them. All right, next model. Let's go back to kind of the more angular, like triangular shaped eyes, as I call them. Let's see. That should be a little bit distinct compared to the other ones so far. Yeah. So that should be good to mirror over. I'll go for a bit flatter nose here so we're not seeing as pronounced of a bridge like that. I do think I want to move it down a little. All right. We'll put a smile on this particular one. No, we don't need an ooh face. I know we've talked about it before on probably other drawing streams. That's most likely where it's come up. But to mention something that I talk about every once in a while when it comes to character designs, one of the things that I developed kind of a pet peeve for in especially like anime and manga designs is the kind of vanishing point on lips. And I know I've talked about it before, but it's probably been a little while. And I point it out just because it's a really common thing in a lot of designs nowadays. But when artists do this, and we got a little bit thicker of a lip line here, which is going to make it look even more pronounced and weird. But when there's a little like deleted gap in the smile, it never used to really stick out to me. And then one of my peers, I can't even remember who it was at this point, a long time ago when it started becoming more common, someone pointed it out to me and said, "Hey, do you ever notice that like the lip line is broken in a lot of modern anime and manga designs?" And then now I always notice it. And it's not bad, and it doesn't ruin a design, but it's kind of one of those things where if you didn't know it was there and didn't know to look for it, it would just be invisible almost. But now that someone pointed it out, ever since then, I can't unsee it, and it looks kind of weird to me. It's a stylistic choice, and I don't fault anybody who does that. It's just something that my eye immediately picks up now. And I never did that on my designs because I haven't really been drawing in this style for that long. I guess I have technically been doing this for a while. Probably almost 20 years in trying to learn like the manga type style. I've been drawing for way longer than that. But since the very beginning, I never did that sort of vanishing lip line. And now I just see it everywhere. All right, let's go for kind of more of like curly hair-ish. And I know some of my other artist friends, since I know a decent amount of artists that work in different styles. I pointed that out to some of my peers, and they've said they noticed the same thing, but I don't know if it really bothers them as much. But it kind of just became one of those things where once people started doing it, I started seeing it everywhere. Another thing that's a more stylistic choice, and not something that bothers me as much, something I notice, is when people have some of the facial features like the eyebrows and the eyes above the hair. And I know it's a style choice to be able to keep the character expressions from being covered and make it so that if the characters are emoting, you can see them. I've never done that. Or it's not that I can remember. I have to go look at some of my older drawings. But that's really just more of a style choice. If I was doing animation or things where my characters had to emote more, then I would probably have to look at that and see if I needed to change the way I draw. But because I primarily do concepts and ideas, it's a little bit less critical. So that's why you see this character's not a bad example. But for I guess this one right here is also a good example. You could see like the bangs are falling kind of over the eye, and it's not symmetrical, so the framing on the face is not symmetrical. I'd fix that in a final design. But let's say there were more locks over here falling down. I generally try and avoid doing that and shaping the way things are falling so that they're just covering the eyes, since most normal people wouldn't have hairstyles that just fall directly in their face like that. But even if it's off to the side, like down here, the parts of the eye would be not visible. And so that's just another kind of stylistic choice. All right, for this one, we're going to go for the crescent pupils, which I have to zoom in a bit for. These are the water people. Pupils are shaped like inverted crescents, and they have the gill lines in the neck. All right, that's number 6. To go ahead and save that. I think we need to do a male model that has longer hair. Because most of them are short to medium. All right. We'll do one that'll give me a chance to talk about one of the races that haven't really spoke about a ton. All right, start there. This one will be probably the most distinct of all of the hair so far. And I'll talk about why. Looks like I put the eye too close. Yeah, let's move that a little. And then we'll mirror it. There, it's better. Kind of a speaking animation. Or expression, rather. All right, this is going to be a little bit tricky because of how this particular race's hair works, and I haven't done one of these in kind of a while. Unlike all of the other races which have sort of more regular strands of hair, this is going to be a little bit tricky for me to explain as I'm doing it. But for this one, their hair is thicker and tends to bunch into larger strands that look like thicker spikes. And so one of these isn't just a single piece like this, but because the strands of hair are so thick, they tend to bunch together and give the illusion of these larger pieces. So one thing I've done in a lot of the designs is this particular race has a lot more kind of texture lines on the hair, which is a bit of a pain to design, but it tends to result in the hairstyles looking a lot more unique. But in sketch form, it's going to come across a little more messier than the other ones, I think. It's kind of a similar concept to dreads, but instead of it being kind of long, almost braided looks, they're more spiky. And this particular race doesn't have any unique traits with their eyes. But they do have sort of distinct marks on their face sometimes. And the runic marks are similar to the written language, which tends to be a bit more angular in shape instead of kind of more rounded or curved writing types. Theirs are going to have a lot more kind of hooks and forks to the design. It's not a good example. Stuff like that. And if I were going to dial this design in a little bit more, it might make sense to have the part kind of follow the head a little bit more if this is the line. But that's alright. I think the way that particular hair would work, it would part wherever you wanted it to. You could even have it part like way at the side and have it swept over that way. That hairstyle definitely stands out compared to the others. And because it has that distinct texture look to it. Where's my pen? That's easily the most complex of the hairstyles to do. All right. Let's go ahead and save. Move on. This is going to be number 8. I know which one we'll do next. This is another race that has a distinguishing physical feature I'll talk about when I get there. All right. Bit more of a rounded face, similar to the one over here. All right, for this one, this is the race, and this might be a little bit tough to show from the front. But this is the race that has horns. And I believe we talked about it when we did some of the concept designs with actual fully fleshed out characters. I just know it's been a hot minute. But this particular race has these horns that are usually found on their forehead, but they can also show up in different parts too, like on the sides. But forehead's usually the most common, and they tend to be sharp and somewhat short, and not really like tiefling horns in D&D, where you have like the kind of long, like demonic horns. These are just shorter spikes almost. So to that end, a lot of the hairstyle is out of the way so that the horn is prominent. But even if it wasn't, like let's say the bangs were all the way swept down here, the horn would just be poking out from between too. I will go medium length on this one. I'll give her a hairpin. A bit more of a simple design. Doesn't have a lot of busy parts to it, but that's okay. Let's go for a more neutral expression. Not a full-on frown. That's better. And for this one, no specific types of unique physical qualities or traits on the eyes. Let's clean up some sections framing the face, and then this one I think will be good. A bit more of a stoic expression on this one. Actually looks very similar to one of the characters in one of the stories I've written for this universe of fiction. One of the main protags, her hair looks very similar to this. Not quite the same though. The eyes are different. All right. Number 8 is done. It looks like we have enough room for... If I scale these down a little bit, I could probably fit 10 in a row. Let's do that. Should be able to do this without compromising the sketches. Yeah, I think we could fit 2 in there. Guess we'll find out. Yeah, that should be 10. All right. This is most likely something that I will add to over time. I don't know if we'll do this exact study again, since it's a little repetitive and there's not a huge variation to the output. But I'm going to keep this as a template so that I can always add to it if I have ideas offline or if we want to do it again on stream. So it'd be useful no matter what if we end up using these designs for something. Let's go on, move on to number 9. Alright, for this one, it's another one of the male models. Let's go for kind of the more downward tilted eyes. I don't think we've done that for one of them yet. Slightly, we won't go really exaggerated like that. Kind of more of a neutral facial expression with the eyebrows, not going for kind of a more furrowed look. And for the nose, it will go more of a less pronounced, shorter nose on this one. And kind of a neutral, nonplussed, and a nonchalant expression on the mouth. Now let's see, hairstyle. We could go again on the longer side, since we still haven't gotten like a long, like shoulder length hairstyle. So maybe we'll do that for this one. I like the idea of the single ahoge, but if we were going to do that, it would probably be like in the middle. It's also an interesting trope that I have no strong opinions on one way or another. But my model has one. Alright, now for this one, let's see. Let's see if there's any we left out. This is actually a pretty good reference too. There is one we didn't do, but this design isn't the best for it, since there's bangs obscuring the face. Might be able to fix that, so we can include that entry here. It's easier without the center line. We have the race that has the crystals in their forehead, the psychics. Okay, I just need to fill in the eyes, and I think this one will be good too. And we won't do any ear accessories on this one. All right, you're gonna go over there in the last spot. And so that leaves one more for the first row of 10. I know another one that we can do. The folks that have the distinct birthmarks on their foreheads. This one, we'll do some more accessorizing with this one. Now, eye shape. All right, I have an idea. We're going to go kind of more narrow, but still rounded in eye shape. And we're going to lose a little bit of the eyebrow because we're going to put one of the head circlets that this particular race wears. In fact, we'll rough in where it's going to be. That way I can mirror it. There, that'll be fine. That we can mirror and I don't have to worry about drawing it exact since this is going to be symmetrical. I think we have more of a pronounced nose on this one. Yeah, we'll go for more of a happier expression on this one, too. Hey, Red Dragon's back. I was wondering if you've just come back or if you've just been quiet the whole time. But I will zoom out in a second. You can see what we've done since whenever you jumped off. Red Dragon says it's really warm here, so I had to go cool off. That's perfectly understandable. I was telling the chat how a little while ago it seems to have stopped now, but earlier it was just pouring rain. It's been decently warm here for the last couple weeks, and it's been good that I've had my air conditioner set up because it's been pretty warm in general. But it was just pouring. It seems to have stopped now, so I'm gonna go check on my plants later and see if they got watered. About 86 Fahrenheit. Yeah, that's pretty warm. We've been in the upper 70s, lower 80s-ish over the last week. And it's going to just continue to go up. Sometimes you can get in the hundreds here during, I want to say, July, late June through August, early September is the hottest part of the season where I live. So, yeah, not looking forward to that. All right, I think I know how we're going to do this one. We'll have one longer lock kind of falling on the outside of the circlet, hanging down to frame the face a little bit. Those might actually be too long. Hey, Red Dragon, did you hear that they confirmed the next Monster Hunter Wilds update? Well, they confirmed when it's coming out, but not a specific release date. We're going to have a stream next Thursday from Capcom that's probably going to say that it's coming out. But they confirmed it's coming out the end of the month. And there was a tweet about it beginning of the week, last week maybe. But the next title update is coming out, they said, by the end of June. So my guess is, because we're pretty much at the end of June already, they're going to do the live stream next week and it'll drop like the next day. That's my guess. And because there's a Capcom showcase next week, and I expect them to probably show off footage of Lagiacrus and talk about what's coming in that update. I'm really hoping there are performance optimization updates. I'm expecting there to be something, because Wilds, I haven't played Wilds in a bit. I might do some grinding this weekend. But Wilds has been getting absolutely hammered in the Steam reviews. It's got like a 19% with an overwhelmingly negative rating, which is brutal. And I've seen a lot of discussion online about that. Which sucks. It's primarily the performance on PC that's driving the rating. And the subreddit is just kind of a cesspool right now. I have not been going over there unless I'm checking to see if news has dropped that I missed. But in general, I don't find the discussions really that productive. But 19% is rough. I don't think the game deserves that. But I'm also pretty confident that by the time the update cycle has started to wind down for Wilds, which won't be for a bit, that the performance will get addressed. They've always done that in the past. I know Iceborne, when it came out, had a pretty rocky start because I played it from launch. I was okay because I was running a lower powered computer, but the performance wasn't great for the general PC port of World. And then Iceborne was a little bit rough, and then it ironed out over time. And I didn't really have any issues in Rise and Sunbreak, probably because it was a Switch game first. But it just sucks because a lot of people are going to see the really bad reviews now and never give Wilds a try. But I also think it's not a rush to get in the game until performance has been kind of ironed out a bit. And I only say that because I've never really had serious performance problems, but I'm not running it on ultra max 120 FPS settings. I notice performance issues when I stream it because I'm running a VTuber model at the same time. But when I play it offline, it runs fine. It could run better and it could look better, but I have no issues. It just sucks for the people that don't fall into that camp, that have higher powered machines than me and they can't get it to run without crashing. That sucks. So I get why its review score is low. I just think people are kind of piling on right now. But that usually happens when Monster Hunter titles get released initially. If it never gets fixed, then yeah, I would probably consider dropping a negative review if it never gets fixed, but I highly doubt that. Our drawing size lags here or there when I load it up. Did you do the shader cache fix after the most recent update came out? Because when I installed the latest update and started, it would not run at all on my PC. It would literally stutter and stop every second in every area, and I could not get the game to run. So I had to go and I just went into the directory and I deleted the shader file. It's like shader cache or shader cache 2 if you have an NVIDIA, I think. But it's in the Steam directory. You just delete that file, and then when you rerun the game, it'll recompile shaders again, which takes anywhere from like 15 to 20 minutes depending. But once I did that and reloaded everything, now it runs perfectly fine. And the stuttering is gone. it was noticeable. I never had performance problems like that prior to the recent update. And then I did that fix, and now it runs fine. So I would do that. I can try and grab it. There was a tweet I saw that explains what to do. It was from the Monster Hunter people. But I can get it, and I'll see if I can put it in the chat. All right, this was. Here we go. This is a retweet of another account by the actual official Monster Hunter one. Here, I'll put it in the chat. I just followed that step by step, and now the game runs perfectly fine. Now, I do agree with some of the comments, because there's quite a lot of people just absolutely torching the Capcom Monster Hunter Twitter in that response. I don't think it should be the user's job to find a workaround to just get the game to work. But my guess is that issue is going to be patched in the update coming at the end of the month. And so for a lot of people, they just got frustrated and wait till the next update. I'm sure that's going to be fixed. But in the meantime, if you want to just play the stinking game, it takes a minute to just go and delete the file, and then you have to obviously wait for it to recompile shaders and go, make a sandwich or go to the bathroom or something. But yeah, Red Dragon, I'd give that a try if you were noticing issues, because that isn't supposed to happen, and it fixed it for me. I will probably I'll probably stream Wilds again after next week, because my guess is we'll have the update by the weekend, and I'm keeping Sunday open for the collab stream with Bits, so we'll probably stream it the following week. We'll see, especially if the update causes any problems. It'll be good to get that sorted before I actually go live and stream the game. But I do want to dive into whatever they're going to be adding. New monsters, plural maybe. And any other changes. Layered weapons are coming, so that's another thing. Still have to build more weapon sets for the other weapons we haven't been using. There's a lot of work left to do in Wilds, so I'm not done with the game by any means. I've just been a little bit distracted with Factorio lately. Okay, so let's take stock of what we've done so far. We can get ready to start to wrap up. Let's go in order. That way it'll be easier to keep track of where we started and where we stopped. Our first face design was over here. We went from left to right. And in general, I think we managed to avoid just copy-pasting a lot of hairstyles. I think the facial features are a little bit varied here and there. If we were going to port all of these over to an actual character concept, that we're going to fully flesh out. Then we can adjust other things on the fly if we needed to. But the idea was to work through the different designs, specifically focusing on hair and the eyes, in addition to all the rest of the features like the nose and the shape of the face and whatnot. And I think we covered all of the races in some capacity. Well, there's 10 total. 10 total faces and 11 races, so I might have missed one here or there. Eventually, when I work on the second series of these, the goal will be to get to ultimately 2 representatives from each race. But now it makes me wonder who I missed, because we're not doing an odd number. Let's see. The sheet will tell me. It's either going to be set 1 or set 2. Oh, I think it's the fire race. It doesn't really have a representative here. That's the one I think I'm missing. Yeah, because they have the kind of fire-like mark on their face, similar to this, but a different style. Could do that down here. Just be a completionist about it. And this will be kind of like a first starting point for the second series. Yeah, let's do that. And then we'll wrap up for today. Same order. This will be the male model. Okay, we'll set up the basic face features. Kind of going for a grin, a side grin. Oh, hair. We could go really spiky for this one. It's actually fairly simple compared to some of the other ones. A couple more moving parts, but in general, not terribly complicated. Spiky anime pro tag hair. for the mark on the face, again, it's supposed to look kind of like a fire symbol. Let's fill in the eyes. We're done with this one. Kind of a longer version of this one, but a bit sharper and more spiky for maximum anime. But that will give us a good starting point to work off of if I revisit this study on stream. I will, like I was saying earlier on when we were seeing how many of these we're going to end up with, this template I'm going to use going forward just in general, but if we do this study again on stream, I'll just add to what we see here. And ultimately, I'd like to have 50 distinct faces. We've done this before, but not in this quantity. But the idea would be keep adding to it, and that way, if I need to pull designs for a specific character concept, we've got stuff here. I also think it'd be interesting, maybe if we did this again, to pull some of my old archive designs like we did on the outfits and grab some of the hairstyles in there. I think that would also be useful in filling out the list and putting some more ideas in here, because there are a lot of character concepts in the vault. Just setting aside the ones that are dedicated to stories that I'm actively writing, the amount of just regular freehand character concepts I've got in there, there's hundreds. So rather than solely focusing on doing new ones, I can pull some of those old ones out, clean them up, and add them so they're captured in a format here. Since they're all just in paper, I have these giant accordion paper files here, and they have all the stuff I've worked on. And so the timing works out. And again, I'll go and finish the last two designs on set 2 when I get a spare minute. And then this one will also be finished. This format does work pretty well in general, but we won't solely be working on this perspective. I will give some ideas, think of some ideas for future character-based exercises here on stream, so I'm not just doing the same thing over and over again. Maybe next time we'll do a creature study, since we haven't done creature designs in a bit. We do have to continue working on the Monster Hunter fusions. Hit a bit of a block on one of the fusion designs. That's why we took a break from that one. But still stuff to get done. So we'll go ahead and save this. And let me go and check the... The timing worked out. Let me take a look. Let's see. Tundra Tales is online. Chrono Odyssey. I don't know Chrono Odyssey. Oh, we can head over there and see how that's going. Let me cue that up. We'll go ahead and pause music. And go to outro. And we will call that a decently productive drawing stream for today. We will be back on Sunday. If I remember my own updated schedule. Yes. We're back on Sunday, and we'll be checking out something else new that's probably going to follow alongside Devil Summoner as an ongoing playthrough for a bit. I'm currently putting together some plans for the month of July, and I'll talk about that once I actually commit to something, but we'll be checking out a new game in the same genre on Sunday. So we'll get to that. But in the meantime, thanks to everyone who came and hung out. Hope you all have a good rest of your day or morning, and I will catch you in the next one. Now let's go see how the Chrono Odyssey is going.